The Minolta 700 has some Kentmere 400, which I've rated at 200, and it has the 28mm lens, f2.8, and we'll go for a little walk and see what we can see. Time to review the images made with the Minolta X-700, and this is only the second outing with Kentmere, and I'm very pleased with the images. I must say they've come out really nicely with using the Caffenol developer. I think I will have to tweak it, as you'll see as we go through these images. So the first one here, nicely exposed. Minolta's really done a good job with exposing it, and Kentmere has really drawn out the image very nicely. Not sure that I'd print it, but certainly it is a nice, pleasing image. The second image, this one I thought was interesting in that I used the camera's memory lock for the exposure. I pointed it at the sky and I locked the exposure there, and as a consequence, no surprise, but the foreground here is dark, but it's really accentuated the clouds, taking the meter reading off that. So that's a nice memory aid for me to remember that when using these sorts of cameras, and the fact that they have these memory locks. Third image, again, I really like the way the X-700 has really done a good job. It's an average meter, and it's really pleased with that. Very tempted to print that one, maybe. Now I've got 4 images here which show trees, and I'm thinking that here's the first one, here's the second one. Unfortunately this one just falls short. I did deliberately point it into the sun, and I was intrigued to see how the flare would be rendered in the image, so I won't actually print that one. But there's 2 trees there, the third one here, and a 4th one here. I'm just wondering whether to employ a technique I did some while back and print 4 images on one sheet of A8 by 10. So we've got a theme here, the trees, that could be used. So I think I might well do that. Again, I won't print this one. It was again, I'm not quite sure what I was thinking really, apart from the fact that it was I'd reached the top, and it was a very peaceful, and I just thought I'd just take the image, but I certainly won't print that one. So we'll get rid of that. I actually climbed up to the top of this one, and got a very pleasant view, I must say, and managed to get back down again, which was always good. Again, nice exposure. I'm seeing a bit more grain with the Kentmere, which I did rate at 200, so I gave it plenty of light. So I'm intrigued to explore this a bit more. Again, another little waterfall, and I think I might well end up printing this one. I do like this. Perhaps I'd call it the Veil of Deep Shadow. I do like the 2 little sheep there. And you've got a leading line, you've got some darkness here, and the clouds, just everything's just right. Maybe not the superb image, but one that I'm very pleased with. Also, there is this one as well, which I could print and explore this dodging technique to perhaps highlight this a little bit more, but I think it's maybe in the wrong place. Not sure. And again, nicely exposed, but seeing the grain perhaps more than I would with compared to the Fomapan. I'm not sure, but maybe it's my recipe of cathanol that I need to explore or experiment with it. Unfortunately, this one failed. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. There's a few little marks, so I don't think we'll do that one. Another nice waterfall. Using the 28mm lens, I must say I did enjoy that. This is just a small trickle really, not a huge fountain, but because I'm up close, it's kind of rendered it as a big fountain, but it's not actually. And the final image here, which again isn't spectacular, but of interest to me. So in review, I think it's going to be the 4 trees on one piece of 8 by 10. And then I think it's going to be this image that I shall print in its full glory. So, nothing more left to say, then let's go to the darkroom. Here is my test strip for the image that I'm calling the Valley or Veil of Deep Shadow. And we have a test exposure that spans 10 seconds through to 80 seconds in 10-second increments. So 10, 20, I think that's 2, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And I think if I zoom in around here, the 40, 50, 60 mark, we could be in business. So here's the 40, 50, 60. So I think somewhere between, I like the darks here, they're really coming in their own sort of 40, 50, 60 seconds could be a bit long, maybe. So I think what we'll do is we'll go for 55, somewhere in between the 50 and the 60, so 55 seconds. And what seems to be normal now is a contrast filter factor of 4, which is what this test strip was done with, at f11, and we'll see how we get on. Here is our image. It's 55 seconds at f11, and there's a couple of little issues. Don't ignore that, that's a dribble of cathanol. But there's an issue here, what seems to be a light leak, and also there's a bit of a mark here, again, some line there going on. this light mark here, actually I was able to pin it down to the enlargement head. Seemed to have separated slightly, so in my movement each time I come and do some developing, it's moved, and so I was able just to push it in place, and well, let's see the end result of that, shall we? Here is our final image, and a couple of things I want to point out. I discovered that the print didn't require the same amount of time as I would normally in the Caffenol developer, so perhaps indirectly I'm drawing on my previous experience from the last video, where I actually overexposed the image, so the 55 seconds perhaps was a little bit too long. But because I was able to hoik it out of the developer halfway through, I was able to rescue the print and actually still produce a print that I'm pleased with in terms of its tonal range. I do like the blacks here and the whites. Things that I would change. On reflection, maybe I could have held back, perhaps dodged this area here and this here hit the tree, just to make them a little lighter, potentially. That could have been improved the image, I'm not sure, but certainly pleased with that. Also, I made a conscious effort to keep the print in the stop bath and the fix for a little bit longer, and try and submerge it longer. I'm getting a little bit of cross contamination here, or whether it's a light, I'm not sure. I suspect it's the chemical pollution here, if you like. So I'm trying to be a bit more careful with that. So I'm certainly learning. So certainly each print I feel as I'm making a little bit of progress. However, not all the ways, as I will now demonstrate. I said I would produce a second print of 4 images of the different trees that I took, and well, to be honest, it's a bit of a disaster really. I rushed it, so note to self, don't rush, because it's not worth it. The image here, I must have cropped it slightly in the wrong place, so consequently it falls short here. In the developing process, I've got a little bit of mottled effect here, so it's an uneven development in the Caffenol, and here as well. And maybe more importantly, it doesn't actually work, I don't feel. This image here would have been far better off, or even this image here, better off as a separate print. So, learning point from this, yes, it could have worked, but maybe on reflection, if I'd have perhaps assembled them on the computer, done this sort of format on a computer, then I would have been maybe not guilty of wasting a piece of paper. But then, it's experience. I will put this in my file and label it up, and this will go in the book of knowledge or mishaps, and so hopefully I can draw on that in the future. But certainly a very pleasing time in the darkroom, and so until the next time.